the crazy notion in my head, and I think honestly just God-given inspiration because I just don't know where else it came from, is I niche down to dad-owned companies. We have a heart for helping family-owned companies, and we had this crazy thought that if they could have advertising, but if we could take that off their plate, that they weren't going to be banging their head against the wall at whatever hour, trying to get this to work, to try and get leads to come in, to try to feed their family, and they could maybe go spend some time with their children and be present guilt-free.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Reanimated Stories. This is your host, Roger, with Reanimation Design. And today I have Anneliese with me today. And we have also, if you have been listening to this, we have also met through networking. So if you are seeing a theme here and you are wondering, gee, Roger, does networking work? Yes. Yes, it does. By the time that whatever episode this is, when it comes out, yes, you will notice that a pattern has started. So Anneliese, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. I am fourth generation female-owned entrepreneur. Now my husband and I co-own it, so we kind of started a new trend, as we tend to do. We are known in a lot of circles as nonconformists. One of those nonconformist things is our focus is we help dad-owned trades companies with Google Ad Management. And maybe throughout the story time, we will get into why that makes sense, because it does. Let's see. I am first generation American. My dad was born on the Air Force Base in Wiesbaden, and Germany. My mom is from Canada. So let's see. I've been married 19 years this month.
Awesome.
And like I said, my husband is my co-pilot, my co-owner. And yeah, I don't know what else you want. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm really an open book, but that's
fantastic. I didn't
that.
know. I knew that your husband was your co-owner, but yeah, no, I didn't realize like your backstory and all that. That's really cool. So you said that you're fourth generation entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about that. What were some other businesses that your family or that you helped with and all that?
Well, my great grandma, she went door to door selling makeup.
That's
I
cool.
think before a place with the initials MK existed. And my grandparents, they owned, and you're going to notice a trend here. So they owned a craft business.
Oh, okay.
My grandma was the owner and sold them at trade shows. My grandpa made them.
Oh, that's cool.
My parents' story will take a little bit longer to tell. So my mom was in, I believe it's called typesetting, as I don't know if that's still the official term. So my parents' story will take a little bit longer to explain. My mom owned a typesetting editing business for 20 years. So it was a blessing and a curse when she edited my papers. Like I probably had less errors, but it was like, I know way too much about grammar. It's actually my husband looks at me like, really? Like enough. But he has me edit his emails.
Yeah.
So his goal is to see if spell check can not understand what he's saying sometimes, but that's a whole topic. And so with my mom's background, growing up in an entrepreneurial family, her grandma being an entrepreneur, her being an entrepreneur, my dad, his whole family was an entrepreneur, and then he kind of broke the trend. It was kind of interesting. So my great grandparents on my dad's side owned a restaurant, and like it had like 7 different avenues to it.
Cool.
Anyway, so my grandfather was a entrepreneur, and then he got drafted into the military. So then my dad, he was a chemist.
Oh, wow.
And he was with this company for 20 years, and they offered him 2 options. One was a 15% pay cut to move his entire family, including at the time my 90-year-old grandma who lived with us. She lived to 103.
Wow.
So we were going to move to Austin, Texas. And a year later, we would have moved to Orlando. And a year after that, we would have been in the middle of Disney World with no job and no house because the company went out of business. The other was to take severance or something like
Yeah.
that. And my mom said, well, why don't we take a third option? Which, you'll notice the nonconformist kind of comes from, I think, my mom down. And she said, I run companies. You're a trainer. They don't have a training department. So I wrote a post on this, but interestingly enough, they left their entire client list at the place where my dad worked. So my dad took it home. We copied it. They returned it, but we had all of the
Yeah.
information and we did snail mail advertising where my dad signed it. My mom folded it. My sister put it in or I licked it. My sister sealed
Yeah.
it. Um, I still don't like
Yeah.
licking envelopes. They ran that business for 3 years and then they just ran out of clientele,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of where I always say if they had had someone like me or like you, even though right around that time the internet was coming out, so
Oh,
internet advertising wasn't big. They did a lot of trade shows and just letters
yeah.
and stuff. Um, so anyway, they ran a company for 3 years and it was the happiest time of my
That's
childhood
cool.
because my dad, you could set your watch, and I love my father. And my father ever hears any of my podcasts, he knows that I love him. But it was hard growing up, and your dad left every Sunday night, got home every Thursday night. You had him home. He was very present then, and then he left
Yeah.
again. And my mom, again, one of my best friends now, I was talking to her I think it was Saturday for an hour and a half. Um, And I don't know if and that I have such respect for single parents because I don't think anyone is wired to handle creating income and, taking care of two
Yeah.
kids, a strong-willed child, of which I have one who had just came in there. You know, I don't think I've ever apologized to my mom more than when my second child was born, and I was like, "Oh, I get it,"
Yeah.
you know? I had no clue, and I just have such an appreciation for what my parents did, but from the child's perspective, it was really
Uh-huh.
hard. Being a type A firstborn, just like my daughter is, who wants to help. I never felt like I got to be a kid.
Hmm.
And it's not because my parents didn't love
Right.
me, but no one sat me down and said, "Hey, you don't have to do this. We've got it." You know? And I tell my daughter all the time, "Go be a
Yeah.
kid. Mommy and daddy are right here. Know you wanna help your brother, but you can be helpful by not trying to be a mother right now." So, anyway, that's a kind of a long story. So, to speed up to our story, I've always had an entrepreneurial background, but, when you meet the love of your life at 21 and you need income, and you get offered a job of selling, you take
Yeah.
it. And I never planned to be there for 14 years, but I was. And then COVID hit, and the way I did things, you mentioned networking, it absolutely
Yeah.
works if you work it. But with COVID and we couldn't have live meetings anymore, I couldn't go into Salesforce and mark the 40
Oh,
visits that I had that week, the live business owners at
yeah.
BNI and the 3 appointments we set and the 1 sale that I'd been doing for 14 years, getting my managers to President's Club and what have you, a little
Yeah.
gratitude. No, they didn't like the way I did it. They were threatened because, bless them, they were stuck in the 1980s. I don't think they'll ever hear this, but and, so when COVID hit and they were like, "We want you to do 50 calls a week,"
Oh
to
my
cold
gosh.
calls to people I didn't know. Oh my god, my gag reflex right now, Roger.
Right.
And I had, a 3 to 8-month-old because I took 3 months for maternity, but I tried to make it work. I tried to do what my dad did and suck it up and provide for the family. I mean, bless him, I have so much respect for him
Oh,
because he did not like what he
yeah.
did for 20 years. Um but he did it because that's what baby boomers do. And they don't complain
Yeah.
about it. They for their family. So I'm very grateful, private education, private college. I mean, my parents just I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was so blessed about growing up. Now I get
Yeah.
it. Um, but all that to say, things just kind of came to a head and my manager felt threatened. And because I joined SEN, which I
Yeah.
know you're a part of
Yeah.
as well. And so they didn't like it. They're like, she found it again
Yeah.
and wrongfully terminated.
Wow.
And so from the wrongful termination case winnings, because I
Yeah.
won, we started this company in November 2020. My daughter was 8 months old. And I will never forget this. We were flying to Orlando to see my parents, 8 month old, 9 month old in tow. And Dustin's doing research and he's like, I think I could do Google Ad Management. He's like, I think I could figure this out. And I was like, really? That'd be great because then we wouldn't have to outsource it.
Yeah.
Cause I was sitting there going, I can sell it, but I need somebody because I never did any of it when I was at the agency. I just sold it and handed it
Yeah.
off to my partners. And so he did it. We started, with one company and it's grown since then. We're in our 6th year and it's been wild. But he is very much the support player, like my dad was, like my grandpa was. I'm sure, like I don't know how my great grandpa was like, support and selling makeup door to door,
Yeah.
but I'm sure. Like, he was. And so, yeah, now Dustin has taken, more of not that my dad or my grandpa wasn't equal, but he's taken more of a
Yeah.
leadership
Yeah.
role. Which I really appreciate. We do have my daughter is turning 6 in March. My son turned 4 in December. They both have beautiful brains that are not going to be, in my opinion, this is only my opinion, but appreciated in a traditional school. So I am the teacher. My husband is the principal and PE teacher. We are officially going to tell the state we're homeschooling in September. Um, and so I'm like, I can't do all of this by myself.
Yeah.
And it was a big moment for me to step down as CEO and go to co-owner, but it's been such a
It's
blessing.
awesome.
So
And that also goes into what the name of what the name of the company is. You want to go and tell us a little bit about that and how that kind of came about?
I yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, and you'll be the first to hear. So the original name of the company still is the name of the company is Never Miss a Moment Consulting, and that came with my daughter. She rolled at 3.5 months. She crawled at 5.5.
Oh,
She
wow.
sidestepped at 6. She was walking by 9, and I was having to BS 50 phone calls a
Oh,
week.
geez. Yeah.
God, I get sick every time I say that. I just feel physically
Yeah.
ill. And I was so
Yeah.
mad. And, at the time, we honored a non-compete, even though we didn't have to because I won the court case, but we ran everything through my husband's company. So it's funny. I didn't exist for 2 years. um, while I was pregnant with our second. So that's another part of our story is we started the company in November. We conceived my son in March. He was born in December. So by the end of 21, we had two under two.
Oh, wow.
And then 6 months, when he was 6 months, I rejoined SCN because I just had a lot going
Yeah.
on. Yeah. So just, I, I've talked to so many dads, on Dad Talk through our newsletter, Dad Talk, which we will relaunch at some point. Um, and just how they feel torn between providing
Yeah.
financially and providing their time.
Yeah.
And I just it's so hard to reconcile.
Mm.
And so the crazy notion in my head, and I think honestly just God-given inspiration because I just don't know where else it came from, is I niche down to dad-owned companies. We have a heart for helping family-owned companies, and we had this crazy thought that if they could have advertising, because we're not a marketing company. I refer to a wonderful gentleman who I'm not gonna name drop here because then I'll feel like I'm leaving people out, but wonderful gentleman who does
Yeah.
marketing. It's his zone of genius. Advertising is mine. But if we could take that off their plate, that they weren't gonna be banging their head against the wall at whatever hour, trying to get this to work, to try and get leads to come in, to try to feed their family, and they could maybe go spend some time
Mm.
with their children and be present guilt-free. So you are first to hear, and it'll probably be changed by the time this comes out, but we're actually changing the name of the company to Be Present
Oh,
Advertising.
cool.
is we're going to help companies be present online and be present with their
That's
family.
awesome.
And the people that get that message, like you just did, are the right people, and the people that don't were probably not your people.
Yeah.
And that's been a 2-year journey of trying to come up with the right name. We had some other contenders that just didn't quite fit. And when we came across this one, we're like, that's it. So we're in the process of updating our LinkedIn and updating our website and updating the language to have it make sense with the name of the company. And it's very much a placeholder. We definitely want to have it professionally done eventually, but as you know, as a family-owned business as well, there's stair steps in
Yeah.
priority. So,
That's really
but
cool.
yeah, the
Oh, I'm sorry. No,
of
no, go
be
ahead.
present. No, just it still encompasses the never miss a
Yeah.
moment, but I think it's more clear
Yeah.
of what we're really trying to help families, accomplish. And I have a friend, bless her, and she'll probably hear this, but so don't get mad. But she said, "Do you think you're niching down too much? What if someone isn't a family?" And it's like, well, if you recognize the talent, you'll probably still hire
Yeah.
us. But I want to niche down to
Yeah.
families. That's who we love to help.
Yeah.
Adds a mission
Mm,
in my mind to what we're doing.
yeah.
And I think, yeah.
And I
So
think even with that, sometimes people are like, I'm niching down and I'm doing this. And there are times where it's just, oh, this person has come along, they get it. And I want to work with them because I do enjoy this industry or whatever. Mean that you can't do anything else. And I think the beauty of niching down is that you're focused, you have a mission, you have a purpose.
later.
So that's really cool. I'm glad that you shared
At
that
least
with
we can
us.
run a brilliant
Yeah.
every day in the morning,
Yeah.
right? You know, I I know that, and I always tell this story. I've told this story so many times on a podcast, but I think it really encompasses. We have a gentleman that we help. He's a moving company. He was actually our first client that came over. So a lot of our clients followed me from the agency.
So,
They've been with me since 2007, 2009, and they're like, "We're with
yeah.
you wherever you're
Yeah.
going," which was so
Yeah.
humbling. But his income that he brings in from his company helps his kids and his grandkids, like, funds their lives.
Cool.
And so if he's not present online, it's
Yeah.
dire. It
Yeah.
matters. My husband has gotten on me, like, "Why is this such a big deal?" Because
Yeah.
generations are counting on this
Yeah.
company. He's in his 60s. Last November, he fell down some steps
Oh,
and
wow.
hurt his knee, it and we found a way to keep the company
Yeah.
going. He has moving, gosh, units. God, the people that drive the trucks,
Yeah. Yeah. Of
crews.
course.
An English language there, Roger. But he has moving crews that we kept things going, but, and you'll relate to this, 2 Novembers ago, bots got a hold of his website,
Oh, geez.
and 40% of his budget was getting eaten up by
Oh my
bots.
gosh.
He would have gone out of business if we weren't helping
Yeah.
them, and that means something
Yeah.
to me. But the best text I ever got from him is like, "Hey, I'm just checking in." And he goes, "You've got it handled. I'm in South Carolina with my grandkids." And I was
That's
like,
cool.
"Yes." Because he knows I have
Yeah.
it. And so he knows that he can go be present guilt free. And that's really what we're
Yeah.
about.
That's such a cool mission. And that's such a thinking of that. I like what you said earlier. Like his grandkids, his kids, like this is a generational thing. It's no more this not fight or flight, a feast or famine, right? It's not this feast or famine. It's how can we continue growing? Something that I try to tell my clients sometimes is listen, my business does well when yours does well. I want to help you grow your
Yes.
business. And the way that I grow
Amen.
my business is by helping you grow your business. And sometimes
Yes.
it's a little hard, right? Sometimes it's a little bit of a waiting game, but it's figuring that out and it's continuing to think of how we're going that like we're walking alongside, we're the guide and we're helping you and we're
Yes.
encouraging you and we're saying, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's going. And so I think that's really great, especially thinking through dad owned businesses because it's you had said it earlier. I'm pointing backwards like it's over there. You had mentioned that earlier about that's something that they don't have to worry about. And I think that's great. Sometimes I've told a couple of people, I'm like, specifically with websites, like your marketing, your website design, it takes a piece of your mind. And I want to come alongside you
It
so
does.
that you have a peace of mind about that marketing, about that. So it doesn't take it,
Yes,
so it doesn't really do that.
absolutely.
That's the same thing that you're doing with the
And
Google business, or not the Google business. I'm sorry, the Google ads. You're helping them be
yeah,
present online so that they can grow
mhm,
their business, so that they can be present offline. And I think that's absolutely beautiful.
yeah, and also, you talked about, I mean, one, our company, we don't have contracts. So if we don't produce, and you know this because you're one of our top referral partners, get on Roger's networking calendar. Okay. But, you know, if we're not producing, you shouldn't have to
Yeah.
pay. You shouldn't want to stay with us. We don't know what we're doing. You shouldn't stay and go, "Oh, we're in a 6 to 12 month contract." I never want, I want them to be happy to pay it. Like my husband just got off the phone with one of our clients. We run 3 different campaigns for her for 3 different businesses. 2 of her businesses are up
Oh,
30%.
wow.
She doesn't mind sending us our management fee
Yeah.
check. She's happy to. She's like, "Send me an email, tell me what I owe
Yeah.
you." And then the other is if they do well, they want to increase their
Yeah.
budget. So then guess what? Our income goes up. Like, it's a direct and I don't think anyone's ever pointed that out on a podcast, so but yeah, we're there to help.
Yeah. No, I think that's great.
We want to see you succeed. We have a vested
Yes.
interest. So, yeah.
It's interesting because I talked to somebody else about contracts versus no contracts. And one of those things that, when you don't have a contract, there is a little bit more of a peace of mind for the person that is investing in it, but it's also
Mm,
on the onus of the person, the client, not the client, the company, the business to say, "Hey, listen, we believe in our product, our service, whatever it is, so much that we don't want you to feel that you have to pay, that you have to pay. We
right.
want you to pay because you know the good job that we're doing." And it's funny, I've started to think through, okay, maybe I can move away a little bit from a contract and start to think, okay, what do I need to do in
Yeah.
order to have my clients go from have to pay to, oh man, I get to pay
Mhm.
or I want to pay, just like you
Yeah.
said. Now, one of the
Yeah.
things that you had mentioned, Annalise, is that that you guys do the Google ads. Do you also, this is just for listeners, do you also do Facebook ads or is it just strictly Google ads?
So, like friend Melissa Henry, who's actually a part of SCN as well, she's going to listen to this maybe. One of my dear friends, and she's just a hoot. Anyway, she came up with the term for me, marketing vendor. And so, people like yourself, websites, I like to give people like 2 or 3 choices just because, there's personality, there's style, there's just, we do have another young lady and also from us. Actually, all these people are so networking
Yeah,
works.
sure does.
I built a home client fitness out of it. So one does all of our SEO, um, and we do all of her pay per click. And then another young lady does all of our social media. And then, I mean, I have vendors in the tax field, in the investment field. I have parent coaches. I
That's cool.
have coach for dads who are ADD and want to be better.
Yeah.
Like, I have met so many interesting people doing the dads and the marketing. It's really interesting. But yeah, so I'm the hub of everyone. I'm the place where people trust. My favorite question is, Annalise, do you know someone
Yeah.
that? Actually, yes, I
Yeah.
do. Or I will go
Yeah.
find them. Interesting story, and I know we're coming up on time here, but I had a young lady, she needed to get a marketing grant. And in order to get that marketing grant, she needed different pieces
Mhm.
put together. So she needed just different within 24 hours, we got her 4 grand for a grant
Oh,
because we put
wow.
together such a good. So that's how connected I am and how fast I can get people because I'm like, hey, this is what it is. You interested? Because I'm always gonna check, right, with someone. Um, so yeah, and then also I by trade, I'm a fractional CMO, marketing manager. I like to say advertising manager because I don't really manage the
Yeah.
marketing so much. But I'm really good at finding patterns. Like, you don't want to play me in Gin Rummy because I'm going to find those combos of 3 and 4 so fast it's going to make your head spin. You're going to cry. It's just the way my brain
Yeah.
works. I find, unfortunately, what's wrong a lot.
Yeah.
I like to find what's right, but, like the bots, I
Yeah.
mean,
Right. Right.
not everyone would have found that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, people, "Well, I can't afford you." And my answer is, you can't not afford
Yeah.
me because you're gonna get more out of whatever you're doing advertising-wise if I'm going in and I'm doing the
Yeah.
analysis, or we're gonna save relationships because I can hire and fire your vendors with my report. It's data-based, it's not
Yeah.
personal. And you just give them the report. This is what my, CMO said. And then you get to keep your relationship. People love that
Yeah.
one. So, yeah, advertising is really like the core,
Yeah.
but I've been in this industry, this is crazy to say, 19 years on March
Oh,
7th,
wow.
because we got married on February 24th, and I got hired
Oh,
March
cool.
5th or 7th, one of
Yeah. That's cool.
yeah, I've done it for a while, and I found all the cream that has risen to the top, and I don't really refer outside of those people because I know there's just people,
Yeah.
they're just not as good.
Yeah.
I've already vetted them.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. Again, if people are wondering, does networking work? Yes, it does work. When you start to really find that core, I think that's yeah, it's
Yeah.
really important. And so you had mentioned you're looking at it from a data perspective. You're not looking at it from oh, feelings are
Yes.
being hurt and all that. And so with that, you've talked about okay, they want to pay me. They want to do that because they're seeing those results. So if somebody was thinking, okay, you know
Mhm.
what, maybe I need to start thinking about advertising, or maybe I need to just strike up a conversation with Annalise or someone like Annalise.
Yeah.
But what do I need to start thinking about in order to start doing advertising? What are some things that they need to start thinking about?
Well, this is gonna sound really, really rudimentary, but I've asked the same 2 questions, and I may have mentioned them on our first talk, I can't remember, but what's your goal and what's your budget?
Mm.
I was actually talking to a gentleman, again, I'm not gonna name drop, but that you referred to me earlier, and, I'm a big believer in SEO, big. I mean, you own the space. However, a family-owned company that has a limited budget they need to get leads now, and they only have so much. While in theory, I'd love to put together a whole team that does, social media with, LinkedIn and X if you're 40 and up, if that's where your clients
Yeah.
are, which is, I never thought I'd say that. It's crazy. TikTok and Instagram, and branding and all of it. Yeah, sure. But then there's the practical.
Mm.
You know, if you need leads now and you have a certain budget, and this isn't sometimes Google Ads is not the best solution. I actually had this conversation with my business coach who I met in SEN. I'm going to keep saying that. There's a pattern, guys. I like patterns. He was meeting with a client who he had referred to us back in November, and I won't mention names or industries, but he said, "Look, if your clientele is on Google, you need to call someone who knows what they're doing because you handling it by yourself is not working. And if they're not, you need to stop spending money on Google and you need to go find out who can handle where your clients are,
Mm.
right?" So I meet with my social media person all the time and I'm like, okay, this is the industry. Like,
Yeah.
there is an industry that their motto is "We see dead people" because they deal with all the funeral
Yeah.
stuff. She recommended Twitter for them. X,
Interesting.
because most of their clientele were 40-year-old males who were dealing with their parents. I couldn't figure that out, so I'm not gonna put them on Google.
Yeah.
That's why I like being a marketing vendor broker, because if I'm not the best
Yeah.
one, I can recommend who. SEO, I think you should always be working towards
Yeah.
that, reinvesting your profits and owning the space, and then you're up top and in the bottom and in the
Yeah.
maps. It's a gradual process, but I always start with the practical, and that's what people are always gonna get from me, and it's always gonna be data driven.
Yeah.
So, somewhere else they could start is having somebody look at their data and clear out the fluff and maybe not have to increase their marketing budget at all or advertising budget, however they want to look at it, and reinvest that money into what is work.
Yeah.
I've helped people do that all over the place. It's one of my favorite things to do because people are like, well, I don't have any more money. Well, okay, well, if what you're doing isn't working, let's change
Yes.
directions. But then you're going to know from a data perspective what's working.
Yeah. I
So
think that
that's where I would start.
I think that that's really good because you mentioned look at it from the data because sometimes we're like, well, I just have this gut feeling. And sometimes, okay, whatever. But you have to really stop and think, okay, how much money do I have? Where am I going to spend that at? But also, you're just going to start throwing money away. It's let's look at it in a data driven way. Let's look, okay, where are leads coming from? What are you doing with it? Like, how much money
Yes.
do you have? And just like you had said, where are your clients going to be hanging out? And I think that's so important.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cool, and I also really like that. You said a marketing vendor broker. That's really cool. I like that.
I didn't make it
Yeah, no,
up.
that's really cool.
Listen, and I will name drop her
Yeah,
forever because I cannot take credit for
yeah,
that. I will never forget. I was in my chiropractor and she was like, "Oh, so you're a marketing vendor broker?" And I'm like, "Correct."
that's cool. Yeah. No,
And I
that's
wanted, if I
yeah,
can, I want to double back on one thing you said. Yes, leads, but leads that make you money.
yes. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Because if they're not making you money, it's either the leads that are coming in, or it could be the person answering them who doesn't know how to convert the leads. And
Mm,
there is a hole in the
yeah,
bucket somewhere.
yeah,
And I've had to have some hard conversations with some of our clients of like, look, I know you really like this person, but when you answer the phone, things get
yeah.
booked.
Oh, geez.
So it's really expensive to come there.
Yeah,
Um, And, I'm a big proponent of call tracking. I always have been. My background, believe it or not, when I first got hired was to sell ads in the phone book. This is
geez. Yeah,
2007. I know. But can I tell you how many people still in 2018 were still getting calls and still are probably getting free calls because some 50 to 60 plus year old person, that's where they go.
yeah, yeah,
My dad now, it's hilarious. He'll like talk into his phone, but there was a time where he was like, I can open this faster if there's an
yeah,
emergency, right? I helped transition people's budgets over to
yeah,
Google and over to Facebook and different things as the years went on, but it was based on data.
yeah,
And in 2008, when everything crashed and the internet and Google ads came out at the same time and it was sexy and it was cool, but yeah, is it profitable?
yeah,
And I would do my due diligence and I would listen to all their recorded calls. I had permission to. And I was like, he's like, all right, whoever it was, I want to cancel. Okay, but listen to a couple of these
mm,
first. And he was like, for real? Like, your
yeah,
call, you're the
yeah,
boss, your money, but that lead over there's
yeah,
expensive. And this lead over here is like $12.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I've always Google Ads, family owned, and data driven. Those are like my three things that I've always just kind of stood by.
That's
So,
and that makes sense because again, you need to be value driven because what's our purpose, right? But also data driven. What is the actual data
yeah,
saying? You don't have any leads, but
yeah,
you're looking like you're getting clicks. Yeah, no, I think that's great. Annalise, that is really
yeah,
fantastic. I love the story. Thank you for sharing with us and my audience that you are going to have a
sure.
new, be present. You're going to have a new name. And I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Annalise, where can people, if someone is interested in connecting with you, where your website, what do you want them to do when they get to your website and where can they connect with you online?
I have been laughing about answering this question. So normally I would know how to. We're in
Yeah. Oh,
transition right
yeah.
now. So definitely find me on LinkedIn
Yeah.
because I'm on there all the time. And it's me answering. It's not AI. Nothing against AI people,
Yeah.
but it's not an automated service. It's me. Our By the time this comes out, I'm guessing that our website will be bepresentads.com. However, we do have IT people as part of my circle, and so never miss a moment consulting.com will forward to bepresentads.com just to make sure that we don't lose
Yeah.
anybody. And if you go to the Let's Connect page there, I answer all of those emails. Not too big for my
Yeah.
britches that someone else is doing it. And nothing against someone who
Yeah.
has someone else do it, but I like that personal touch and to tell people like you're getting
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure our cell phones are on. I mean, yeah, LinkedIn, website, text me, maybe say who you
Yeah.
are. And yeah, I will also say if you mention Roger's podcast, we do have a program for people that find us through
Oh,
podcasts.
cool.
That so mention
Yeah.
that and I'll tell more.
Awesome.
Kind of long to describe. So just yeah. I should have like, I don't know, some kind of code on my website that's like podcast.
No, that's cool.
I don't. I'm not that fancy yet. Who
Yeah,
can help me?
I know. So sometimes I'm like, ooh, I sometimes think about that. I was like, ooh, if I'm going to do this form, I should have something. But I'm like, I don't have a lot of people coming in. I'll figure it out. Yeah, but I totally get that.
We'll just put in the
Yeah,
notes, like found through the animation or whatever, and
cool,
we'll figure it
awesome.
out.
Yeah, so if you want to chat with Anneliese, I definitely put found through Roger's podcast. Cool, Anneliese, thank you so much for coming out today and for just telling us a little bit more about what you're doing. And we will have all of your links in the description so that they can, and it'll be one or the other. Hopefully, when we release it. Thanks so
Hopefully,
much.
yeah. Hopefully it's gonna be in the next week or two. So
Awesome.
hopefully by the time it's gonna be the
Yeah.
bepresentads.com. But yeah,
Cool.
we'll have forwarding and all that. Not
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much, Annalise. I appreciate it.